Chapter 2402. The law enforcers in Huyun City were paid by the local finance department, but they might not call the local government their daddy. Little miss, I didn't say I'd give up your classmate's case. Trust me, okay? We'll bring the murderer to justice. I'll explain it to you later, really. The phone was held away from the ear, and the girl's angry voice could be faintly heard. Hey, what are you talking about? I can't hear you clearly. Hello? Hello? Sir Matu. Zero turned off the phone and looked at little Luo. Did that guy stop? He's still moving, but he's slowing down. Little Luo looked at the moving red dot on the screen and said, Go through the second exit on the right. Officer Matu. Zero looked around and said, This is the North District's territory. North District? Little Luo raised his head. Sir Ma frowned. Sang Kuin should be working with the evil forces in the East District. Why would he go to the North District? Wait, I remember the Bayou Club that Sang Kuin mentioned before his death. I've just asked someone to check, and the club's registered address is in the North District. Little Luo suddenly said, It stopped. Let me see. Officer Ma glanced at the electronic map on the screen. The place where the red dot stopped was marked with a name, Bayou Entertainment Private Club. At this moment, the red dot on the electronic map suddenly disappeared. Officer Ma muttered, What's going on? Was the tracker discovered? Young Sir Luo thought for a while and said, If it was discovered, there was no need to destroy the BO Club after it was closed. It should be that there is a signal blocking facility in the club. That makes sense. Sir Ma nodded, and the phone was turned on again. Hello, this is Old Ma. Connect me to Lung Foam. Yes, right away. It's urgent. I'm not joking. Little Luo, Sir looked over subconsciously. Lung Fing, after a while, Sir Matu. Zero said quickly, Hey. Dumbo, it's me. I have a favor to ask of you. Yes, get me a party right now. Equipment? Of course, that would be for the best. Don't be in a hurry to act. Wait for my call. I'll send you the location later. Bye. Officer Ma, who is Lung Foam? Little Luo asked directly. Sir Matu. Zero said, Don't you know? The captain and instructor of the Special Task Force in Fiery Cloud City. I was the one who called for the Special Task Force yesterday to capture Sang Kuin from Dumbo. Oh, from Cold Front. Little Luo Sir blinked and asked curiously, Are you going to send out the task force so soon? Sir Matu. Zero said matter-of-factly, What else? Who the hell knew what dangers there were in the Blue U Club? We're good policemen of Fiery Cloud City, a disciplined troop, not lone heroes. You can't be a hero by yourself. It'll be too late if you call for backup when something happens. Of course, we have a dozen snipers and a reinforced company to back us up. That seemed to be the case, but Officer Matu. Zero didn't know what was wrong. He was talking about the essence of his life experience, and he couldn't stop talking about it. Little Luo Sir smiled. Yes, you should go in from the intersection just now. Oh, from the first day of business. The Jeju Club only accepted members, but very few people knew the criteria for accepting members. There had never been a member of the BO Club on the internet, so no one knew what the number of gas in the club was or what the code was. Even if a brave person knocked on the door, he or she would be politely invited out. The door was closed all day long, and no one knew where the members came from. Even so, the door was still luxurious and even had a retro style. Few people knew what kind of Blue U Club was inside. In fact, the decoration inside was also retro style, even antique. All the staff in the club were dressed in ancient robes, but without exception, everyone's face was covered with a rectangular piece of white cloth. Only the mark on the white cloth could tell who was who. Jia 7, E3, Xian 5, and so on. At this moment, in a simple and elegant room of the club, the ambusher who had just fought a great battle was sitting cross-legged on a bed. Wisps of steam were slowly rising from the top of his head. Suddenly, he spat out a mouthful of black blood and then flowed out from the bottom of his mask. In the side room, there were two women whose faces couldn't be seen, but their figures were definitely hot. One of them immediately handed over a handkerchief, and the other brought over a basin of water. Jia 1, Ding 4. Jia 1 obviously had a higher status, while Ding 4 just stood there motionlessly with a basin of water. "Mister, are you feeling better?" The woman holding the handkerchief, Jia 1, said softly, "You have already taken the healing pill given by Mississippi. It should be able to get rid of the poison in Black Dragon King's claw." "The poison is not a problem," the sneak attacker said indifferently. "It's just that my internal injuries are not light. I didn't expect that there would be a surpasser by Mahaud's side, and he's so young. Mister, you said that this person is the student of Yi Yan, the god of criminal investigation in Flaming Cloud City?" The woman gently washed the handkerchief in the basin of warm water. "But as far as I know, before Yan left Flaming Cloud City, he didn't have a disciple. Now he has developed in Kunlun's Southern Skygate, and his position is not low, but he still hasn't accepted a disciple. That's Yi Yan's unique skill. Without his personal teachings, others can't use such power even if they know the principle." The sneak attacker shook his head. "I'm sure that it's definitely Yi Yan's true teachings. Otherwise, my full-strength claw attack wouldn't have been so easily neutralized. Even when that young man used the swimming dragon movement technique, I even thought that it was Yi Yan who appeared in front of me. At this time, we will pay more attention." Jia 1 nodded, and his tone became more formal. "Recently, there have been some changes within Kunlun. Perhaps our information is a little delayed. When will your miss appear?" The sneak attacker asked indifferently. "Miss is already on her way here." Jia 1 said slowly, "Mister, don't worry. Even if Miss doesn't arrive, it won't affect your assessment. As for this operation, it's because our information was wrong that you were injured. I will explain this to Miss later, and your assessment results won't be recorded." "Humph," the sneak attacker said indifferently. "After this, it seems that I can't completely trust your information. Does the omission of information about Yi Yan's student mean that your situation in Kunlun is actually not good?" Jia 1 said indifferently, "Mister, you worry too much. Aquamarine Club is just the tip of the iceberg. I can only believe what I see." The sneak attacker waved his hand. "You can leave. I'm going to continue healing." Jia 1 bowed and said, "There's one more thing. Black Dragon King's claw is very powerful. Miss said that you've only exerted a very small part of its power. She hopes you can study it carefully. But remember, you can't use it more than twice a day. Otherwise, your life will be in danger." He grunted softly. Jia 1 also tactfully left with Ding 4. After closing the door in the wing room, the sneak attacker slowly took off his mask. After taking off the mask, what appeared was a slightly wooden face with a stiff expression. But the sneak attacker then tore off a layer of skin from his face. What he tore off was a mask made of human skin. This was his original appearance. Big Lu Jiaming. After Jia 1 left, he walked into the depths of the club alone. Suddenly, there came the sound of a zither. On the way, the servants either covered their ears or hugged their heads, rolling on the ground in pain, but they resisted the urge to scream. Jia 1 sighed, walked through the corridor, and pushed open a door. In the room, a short-haired woman in white was playing the pipa alone. She closed her eyes and was completely immersed in the music. Only when she finished playing the song did she slowly open her eyes. "Jia 1, I feel that I've improved a lot this time. I've already reached the level of a god. This song, Great Sun, White Bird, I've completely understood it." The short-haired woman raised her head, her expression filled with indescribable joy. "Miss is talented and intelligent. Naturally, this song, Great Sun, White Bird, is not a problem." Jia 1 considered and said, "I've just told Mr. Lu." The white-clothed woman carefully put down the pipa and said indifferently, "What did he say?" Jia 1 said, "Mr. Lu seems to be dissatisfied with the club's intelligence." It was the smell of fireworks. Phew, nice. Surmatu. Zero had finished eating. He picked his teeth and narrowed his eyes. I feel more comfortable here. My butt hurt just now. Did you see the menu? 3,000 for a pot of tea. 500 for a plate of sunflower seeds. Damn it. Little Luo blinked. He thought Surmatu. Zero was paying attention to the big scene, but it seemed that he was paying attention to other things. Consumption? He thought for a while and said, Uncle Ma, I heard that Miss Pei said something to you, so you didn't investigate further. Does this Green U Club have a big background? Surmatu. Zero nodded and said solemnly, It's more than just a big background. It has a big background. Behind it is the one from Tongtian Island. Tongtian Island? Little Luo thought for a while. Surmatu. Zero asked curiously, Didn't Oldie tell you about this? Little Luo shook his head. He didn't. I see. Surmatu. Zero said, Maybe Oldie didn't want you to know so early so that you could focus on cultivation. But you're an adult now, and it's time for you to know. You should know the origin of the great cultivation era in pale blue, right? It's written in the history books. You don't look like the kind of person who doesn't study hard. Little Luo said, It said that more than 1,000 years ago, a strange man figured out the cultivation method from the prehistoric relics and became the first cultivator in pale blue. This eccentric man carved the cultivation method he had comprehended on a cliff for future generations to refer to. From then on, the great era of cultivation of azure blue was officially opened. You're quite good at memorizing history books. Surmatu. Zero nodded. That place is Kunlun, which is why Kunlun is the center of pale blue. Later generations called him Tao Ancestor to commemorate him. He had 7 students in total. Tongtian Island is the inheritance place of Shangqing Heavenly Lord, one of the 7 disciples of Tao Ancestor. Now, you know how powerful the background of Azure U Club is, right? Heavenly Lord was a title that only the most powerful cultivators in pale blue could get, and it was the most powerful force in the world. Heavenly Lord was like a nuclear bomb when he attacked. They made the highest law in pale blue together, and they had the right to disobey the law. No wonder you avoided Ms. Pei, Uncle Ma. Little Luo nodded. I'm not afraid of her. Surmatu. Zero was annoyed. I didn't argue with her because she's a woman and your master's lover. It's not like we can't go against Tongtian Island. After all, the Southern Heavenly Gate is under the name of another celestial venerable. Of course, the celestial venerables probably won't care about the nonsense of the children below. Little Luo thought for a while and said, Azure U Club seems to be related to the East Branch. Yeah, but I don't know how much they are related. Surmatu. Zero had a headache. If Tongtian Island is really behind this, then it's really complicated. I didn't expect that there would be 3 heavenly lords in Fiery Cloud City. 3? Don't you know? Surmatu. Zero was stunned. Niudaguang and his wife and Sun Ming are from Crescent Moon Mountain. The one from Crescent Moon Mountain and the master of Tongtian Island seem to have disliked each other since a long time ago. Are Southern Sky Gate and Crescent Moon Mountain on good terms? Little Luo asked casually. Surmatu. Zero smiled. Silly boy. Southern Sky Gate is only a subordinate of Heavenly Lord Taiching, and it's not qualified to be compared with Crescent Moon Mountain. Kunlun is on the same level as Crescent Moon Mountain, and Southern Sky Gate is only a law enforcement department of Kunlun. However, in terms of relationship, the relationship between Kunlun and Crescent Mountain can only be said to be neither good nor bad. Is it normal? Thank you for telling me this, Uncle Ma. Little Luo smiled. Surmatu. Zero waved his hand. You're old Ye's disciple, just like my disciple. If I don't take care of you in Fiery Cloud, who will? I'm not afraid that old Yi will make trouble for me. He poured a cup of tea for Surmatu. Surmatu. Zero felt he deserved it, so he drank it. He felt more comfortable after drinking it, and it was even better than the spiritual tea he drank in Azure U Club. It must be because he was in a good mood. Okay, are you full? Sir Matu. Zero exhaled and said energetically, let's get to work. Little Luo asked, what's next? Sir Matu, Zero said, according to Payulo, the guy who sneak attacked us will be counterattacked by the forbidden tool tomorrow night, and he can only suppress it in an extremely cold place. There are only a few places in Fiery Cloud City that can suppress something as weird as Black Dragon King's Claw. If that guy doesn't want to go far, he'll probably be near the city center. Most likely he'll be at the ice spring under the fiery mountain. Sir Ma quickly stood up. Let's go back to the headquarters and call some people to deploy. F***CK, I don't believe we can't catch that guy with a large task force. How dare he sneak attack me and hit my back? F***CK. Officer Ma's principle was to fight together if he could. If he could bully others with numbers, he would bully others with numbers. Officer Ma, are you leaving? The landlady of the noodle stall walked over. Did you order some cold noodles? Little Luo smiled. Landlady, I'll write down an address. Please send it to me. I'll pay for it. Oh, okay. Limitless City. In a dilapidated building, it was a living place with all the essentials. The floors were filled with all kinds of small shops. Food, drinks, clothes, cell phones, trinkets, and tattoos. Every small shop was also a small family. Shimin Ka was walking in the narrow aisle quite familiarly, and from time to time, she would greet some merchant, as if she was very familiar with this place. After a while, under the lead of Shimin Ka, Di Qinglong arrived in front of a small shop that sold pirated books at first glance. The counter directly blocked the entire entrance. Behind the counter, there was a curly-haired man with stubble on his face. He was smoking a cigarette, wearing a small white singlet and large shorts. At this time, he was lying on a chair, reading an adult magazine with great interest. Di Qinglong frowned and subconsciously glanced at Shimin Ka. Shimin Ka shrugged and knocked on the counter, shouting, I have the strength to pick up mountains, and my spirit is unparalleled. Your mother is still alive. The curly-haired man raised his head. When he saw that it was Shimin Ka, he stood up immediately. When he spoke, the cigarette was still on his lips. Ah, Xing. Shimin Ka said again. The curly-haired man swept the things on the counter into the shop quickly. Then he tiptoed and hooked the shutter, pulling it down fiercely. Shimin Ka was quick. When the shutter fell down, she reached out and lifted it. The shutter stayed in the air and didn't move. The curly-haired man looked disgusted. I've said that we've cut off all ties. Why are you still looking for me? Don't make trouble. This time I really have something to ask you. Let's settle the previous account first. The curly-haired man used all his strength, but still couldn't pull the shutter down. I don't want to do business with you. Get lost. Ah, Xing, this time it's really urgent. Shimin Ka also used all his strength. Ah, Xing, have you forgotten your dream? Back then, your ghost spell book was invincible. How can you waste your talent? Get lost. What are you talking about if you don't have money? At this moment, when the two of them were in a deadlock, a hand reached out and made a gesture. Then, a stack of banknotes appeared on the counter. Di Qinglong patted the stack of banknotes indifferently. Is it enough? Bang! The shutter was pushed up by Shimin Ka at once. Come in, Ah Xing said indifferently. Anyway, the stack of banknotes on the counter was gone. The space in the pirated bookstore was also narrow, but surprisingly, it wasn't messy. Instead, there was enough space for 3 people to sit down. The curly-haired man was counting the banknotes and said casually, Don't look for me if it's a small matter. I can't solve the big matter. If it's a normal matter, you can go back and check the information yourself. Shimin Ka's face instantly turned black. He didn't talk nonsense, but took out the crumpled origami paper and said seriously, Ah Xing, help me take a look and see what this thing is for. The curly-haired man was still counting the banknotes. He didn't raise his head when he heard Ah Xing. He took the origami paper over and pinched it with his fingers. Then his eyes moved slightly. Cicada's wings? What's this? Ah Xing threw the banknotes aside and straightened the origami paper with both hands. He put it under the light of the ceiling lamp and looked at it carefully. Where did you get this thing? After a while, the curly-haired man frowned. Have you been to Styx River? Shimin Ka and Di Qinglong looked at each other. Shimin Ka said in surprise, Are you saying that this talisman is from Styx River? It looks like it, Ah Xing muttered. It's roughly the framework of Styx River's exclusive ghost spell, but there are some changes in the middle. The person who drew this talisman is a little evil. Do you know the specific function of this talisman? Di Qinglong asked coldly. Ah Xing looked at Di Qinglong casually. He thought for a while and said, Since it's the framework of ghost spell, it can only work on the soul. But as for the specific function, give me some time. I need to disassemble and study it. How long? Di Qinglong asked directly. Ah Xing muttered, 3 days. This is the spell of the Styx River's royal family. It's not that easy to crack it. Di Qinglong kept adding more money. He was really greedy for money. Shimin Ka was very sad. Duck King, was it so easy to earn money? Ah Xing patted his chest and said, Give me a while, half an hour. As he said that, the curly-haired man moved the chair away. He lifted the floor under the chair and revealed a basement. Then he went in directly. At that moment, Di Qinglong frowned and muttered, I remember that 5 years ago, there was a genius talisman maker in Huiyun City. He successfully refined a 7th-level fairy talisman before the age of 20. I think his name was Yun Xinghe. Shimin Ka shrugged and said calmly, His name was Ah Xing. End of chapter. Chapter 2405. While they were waiting, Shimin Ka said that he had something to do and would be back soon. Di Qinglong naturally wouldn't relax and immediately asked for an explanation. Shimin Ka then pointed at a foot massage shop next to the pirated bookstore and said that she had gray fingernails and she would come back after getting some. Anyway, she was waiting, and if Di Qinglong was interested, he could also come with her. Shimin Ka even stepped on the chair and started to take off his shoes in order to gain his trust. Finally, Di Qinglong waved his hand in disgust. In fact, the waiting process had exceeded the half an hour that Curly Hair Ah Xing said. It was a full hour before Curly Hair Ah Xing crawled out from the basement with a tired face. Coincidentally, Shimin Ka also came back with a refreshed face and carried a few bottles of energy drinks that were different for physical strength. Di Qinglong felt that Shimin Ka's hand touched something, and it was a little dirty. He didn't accept it, but looked like he had run out of patience. He asked directly, What did you find out? Shimin Ka also looked at him attentively. Under the dim light, Ah Xing sat down weakly and said, This kind of incantation should be illegally modified. Although the main frame is from Styx's ghost spell, there are at least 3 kinds of fillers in it. It can't be found in the official registration of the incantation. I don't know how much time the person who created this incantation spent, but this guy is definitely a genius. If I didn't guess wrongly, Shimin Ka, the talisman paper that you gave me should be one of them, right? Shimin Ka said calmly, Why do you say so? Curly Hair Ah Xing said angrily, It's not complete. I tried to deduce it in reverse. I deduced about 50 to 60 kinds, but I feel that there are at least a few hundred pieces of incantation. The time is too short, I can't complete it. Shimin Ka and Di Qinglong couldn't help but look at each other. This strange incantation was taken out from the gift box sent by the mysterious person. It was an exquisite paper crane. Such a paper crane was everywhere in Guzé's ward. Master Yin, when this kind of incantation is combined, what specific effect will it have? Di Qinglong was obviously convinced by Curly Hair Ah Xing's means. He knew that he was a real master of incantation and couldn't help but use honorifics. At this moment, Curly Hair Ah Xing scratched his head. After a while, he said indifferently, Master Yin is dead. Don't mess around, I'll pay more. Shimin Ka rolled her eyes. Hurry up and say it. According to the results of my reverse calculation, it should be mainly to summon the soul, Curly Hair Ah Shing muttered. In addition, it should have the effect of replenishing the power of the soul. If there were enough of these talismans, they would form a very special spatial force field. Similar to the formation set up by Ray Masters, it could continuously absorb the wandering souls in the surroundings and turn them into nutrients to nourish the target. However, the best place to decorate it is either a grave or a pit for the dead. Otherwise, it won't be effective. Shimin Ka subconsciously frowned. What if it's a hospital? Hospital. Curly Hair Ah Shing thought for a while and said the hospital is fine too. There are many dead people in that kind of place. There is also the morgue. The yin energy there is also quite heavy, but it is not the most ideal place. Oh, was this found in the hospital? Shimin Ka ignored Ah Shing's doubts. She looked at Di Qinglong and said, Gu Zai's diagnosis and treatment book said that his soul was damaged, so he is still in a coma. If what Ah Shing said is right, then the guy who sent the paper crane actually had good intentions. Di Qinglong only frowned. He had a close relationship with Gu Yao, but he had never heard Gu Yao mention that he had any relatives or friends. Since he could put in so much effort to make the talisman, he was obviously not a stranger. Curly Hair Ah Shing knocked on the table and said, Shimin, I want to take a look at the place where this talisman was found. It's okay if you don't pay more this time. Shimin Ka laughed softly. It seems that you have finally found something that you are interested in. Curly Hair Ah Shing did not say anything. He stood up and put on a short shirt casually. Then he said directly, let's go. He did not even button up his shirt. Di Qinglong, who always had high standards for his appearance, could not help but frown at this moment. He could only sigh. Also, how did this guy's cigarette ash grow to the length of a finger and not fall off? Master Yin, when you get on the car, can you not smoke? Miss Red Child, please have some tea. The director of the Household Affairs Bureau was pouring the tea carefully. Red Child crossed her arms in front of her chest. Her fingers kept knocking on her arms, and her eyebrows were gradually frowning. Hearing that Mayor Tai's daughter had bad patience since she was young, the director felt that things were going to be bad. Bang! At this moment, Red Child waved her hand and directly slapped on the table. The director of the Household Affairs Bureau was suddenly shocked. His hands trembled and the teapot almost fell to the ground. But he saw Red Child slowly exhaling. When she moved her hand away, there was already a small box on the table. It looked like a box of lip balm or something like that. She unscrewed the box and slowly applied it on her palm. Her face gradually calmed down. The director of the Household Affairs Bureau looked at her with a strange expression. Director, I found it. The savior came. The director of the Household Affairs Bureau quickly heaved a sigh of relief and directly pulled in a section chief from the office. Red Child slowly rubbed her palm and said indifferently, read it. The section chief nervously adjusted his glasses and said seriously, Gao Tsuelon from Psuehua Town was born with, pick something I can't find in Psuehua Town. Red Child raised her eyebrows. According to the records of the Labor Bureau, Gao Tsuelon joined the Fire King group 30 years ago. The section chief flipped through the documents. She was the deputy general manager of the logistics department of the group. This position is not low. Did Gao Tsuelon have a marriage partner? Red Child asked directly. There is no record of this. The section chief quickly said, but there is indeed a record of her giving birth. When she gave birth, she was admitted to the Fire King Hospital. When did it happen? 29 years ago. 29 years old? Red Child couldn't help but ponder. If she remembered correctly, Gao Yang was at most 25 years old this year. The time didn't match. What's the child's name? No, it's not written. The section chief shook his head. The father's name is not on the birth certificate. Only the mother's name is Gao Tsuelon. What about the Fire Cloud Hospital? It closed down. The section chief hesitated and said, "The Fire Cloud Hospital was a shareholder of the Fire Cloud Group. Later, after the Fire Cloud Group closed down, the hospital was liquidated and sold. If I remember correctly, the original location should have become a shopping mall. Then, is there no way to confirm the child's current identity?" Red Child really frowned this time. "That's not it." The section chief quickly said, "Actually, there is still a way, but it may be a little troublesome." "Don't hesitate," Red Child said with a straight face. The section chief had to look at the Bureau of Household Affairs, but he saw that the Bureau of Household Affairs actually turned his face away. He could only bite the bullet and said, "In fact, the information of all citizens in Huiyin City, as long as they were born in a regular hospital, will be recorded in the record. Although it may be difficult for the officials to lock onto a certain person as they grow, as long as this record is used, it can directly lock onto a person's position." "What do you mean?" Red Child couldn't help but show a puzzled look. The section chief had to say, "In short, there is a blood jade under the Bureau of Household Affairs. It records the blood records of all citizens of Huiyin City. When this jade is activated, as long as the person is still in Huiyin City, it can lock onto his position through the jade. Then what are you waiting for? Go and activate it." "This," the section chief said with a difficult expression, "only your mother, Mayor Tai, has the authority to open the blood jade vault, because it concerns the most important information of all citizens of Huiyin City. Even our bureau chief can't open it. Why don't you go and ask Mayor Tai?" "Are you sure you can really find it?" Red Child asked in a deep voice. "It's written on the record that after Gao Tsuelon's child was born, his blood sample was registered." The section chief said carefully, "If there's a mistake, it can only be a problem with the record." Red Boy slowly exhaled and raised his hand. The section chief quickly shrank his neck. She snorted, but only took out her phone. "Mother, I'll come back for dinner tonight. I'll hang up first." Huiyin General Headquarters. When he got off the car, Sir Matu Zero suddenly frowned, because he saw some police cars in the parking lot that didn't have license plates of the headquarters. "Why is the East Branch's car here?" Sir Matu Zero glanced at little Luo and shook his head. He patted the account book in his arms and walked directly to old Lu's office. Because of Red Child's fire, many places were being dusted. In fact, only a few rooms needed to be renovated. Old Lu's room was one of them. At this moment, Officer Matu Zero pushed open the door of the director's office and said, "I'm coming in." Then he knocked twice on the door as a sign of acknowledgement. "Old Ma." The director, old Lu, blinked his eyes and said angrily, "Cough, cough." Ma howled, "Don't you see that I have people here? Don't be so rude next time. I'll transfer you to guard the fish pond." The authority of the Director General was immediately apparent, but Sir Matu Zero couldn't help but frown. Why is he here? There was another person in Chief Lu's room, Lu Jiaming, de Lu from the Eastern Division. Lu Jiaming stood up and buttoned his suit, saying with a smile, "Hello, Sir Ma. And this is the little hero who caught Chin Yokuin. We meet again." Little Luo nodded and said, "Officer Lu." Sir Matu Zero frowned and walked into the office. He snorted, "I was thinking of looking for you, but you came here yourself. Good, I don't have to go back and forth. Old Lu, I found something. You can do as you see fit." Sir Matu Zero threw the account book on the table and stared at Lu Jiaming. "Is this the account book that Officer Lu mentioned just now?" Director Old Lu nodded at this time. "Old Ma, you've finally done something serious this time." "Yes, with this account book, we can uproot the malignant tumor in the Eastern District." Sir Matu Zero was stunned. He felt something was wrong. "What did you just say, the account book that he mentioned?" Director Old Lu nodded and said, "Oh, I didn't have time to tell you. Gun. Officer Ma 2. 0 gave a start but didn't hesitate. He took out the gun and said, "Oh, you don't have a gun yet, right? I'll take you to the gun room to get one." Officer Ma 2. 0 asked curiously, "Why do you need a gun?" Little Luo picked up the gun and put it into his mouth. Officer Ma 2. 0 was shocked. F***ck. Don't tell me you've also been poisoned. Don't scare me. Little Luo stopped. Officer Ma, do you understand? Understand? Officer Ma 2. 0 was stunned. What do you understand? The way you hold the gun is wrong. Officer Lu suddenly said, "It's your hand." I understand. Officer Ma 2. 0 was confused. Little Luo said slowly, "In fact, one hand is enough to shoot. Of course, 2 hands may be used because of nervousness, but the branch director's hand was like this." While speaking, Officer Xiao Luo began to imitate the action of the branch director before shooting. He put the gun into his mouth with one hand and grasped the wrist of the hand holding the gun tightly with the other hand. Just like this. Officer Luo said slowly he not only grasped the wrist, but also pushed it out from the inside. It's like one hand is out of control, and the other hand wants to stop it. Why is it like this? Although he was controlled, he was still conscious, so he wanted to stop it. Officer Lu heaved a sigh of relief. Although he failed, at least he was conscious before he died. Little Luo gave the gun back to Officer Ma 2. 0 and nodded. I think the branch director's willpower was amazing, which proved that he didn't want to commit suicide. If he wanted to commit suicide, he wouldn't have resisted so much. He should still have the courage to live and the courage to face the upcoming trial. Most importantly, he was not a coward. Not cowardly. Officer Lu muttered to himself. Then he heaved a sigh of relief and said softly, "Thank you for telling me this." Little Luo shook his head. Actually, the medical examiner would have found this out if he checked carefully. I didn't do anything. Lu Jianming said calmly, the medical examiner here wouldn't analyze his mood like you did. You're Little Luo, right? After this case, are you interested in helping me in the Eastern Branch? Although it's faster to rise up the ranks if you stay in the headquarters, it's not like there aren't people who are mediocre, occupying the latrine and not moving, or some people who only talk about their past achievements. Lu Jianming, are you trying to poach my man in front of me? Officer Ma 2. 0 slapped the table and stood up. What do you mean? Officer Lu chuckled and didn't look at Officer Ma 2. 0. Instead, he looked at Officer Xiao Luo seriously. Think about it carefully. The transfer procedures, the director should agree. Lu Officer Ma 2. 0's voice sounded. Officer Ma. But at this time, someone pushed open the door and entered the meeting room. It was the staff from the headquarters who came to arrest them. Currently, as long as they are in the branch office building and have their names on the list, we have already captured them. But 3 of them went out early in the morning and haven't come back. We tried to contact them, but they couldn't get through. We've contacted the Ministry of Transportation and found a police car that fell into the river. They're missing. Humph, they escaped fast. Officer Ma 2. 0 snorted and said, "Issue the arrest order to all districts. Hunt down the fugitive in the whole city." Yes, sir. Officer Lu went to the branch office building to inform the people. Now that something big had happened, he was the only one left to preside over the overall situation of the branch office and calm the people down. From this point of view, the director's special treatment for Officer Lu was useful. Officer Ma 2. 0 agreed to this, so he didn't have a quarrel in the director's office. After Officer Lu left, Officer Ma took Little Luo back to the director's office for another investigation. Besides, they talked about other things. Little Luo, these are the information of the people who were captured. Officer Ma 2. 0 asked in a low voice, "Look, can you tell that the robber is among them? Who has the same figure?" Officer Xiao Luo glanced at them and shook his head. "Not among them." "Are they the ones who escaped?" Officer Ma 2. 0 frowned. but Pei Yulo said that guy had to be in an extremely cold place to suppress the erosion of Black Dragon King's claw. Hey, I'll catch that bastard sooner or later. Officer Matu. Zero shook his head and said, if only Westgate was here. He should be able to find some clues. I wonder if there's any progress in the murder case. Little Luo, what did you find this time? Seeing little Luo standing in front of a bookcase, Officer Matu. Zero shuddered and ran over, thinking that he had found something new. But he didn't expect that Xiao Luo would just casually pick up a pink paper crane from the bookcase and read it. Paper crane? Officer Matu. Zero blinked. Is there anything wrong with this paper crane? Little Luo smiled. No, I just think that it's folded nicely. It should be done by someone with good hands. Suddenly, there was a noise. There seemed to be a dispute outside the office door. After a while, the office door was knocked open, and a well-maintained woman rushed in with a pale face. Husband. The woman rushed to the dead body of the branch director, screaming. They had to stop her, but the woman struggled and even used her extraordinary force. How dare you stop me? Do you know who I am? Get out! The men couldn't stop the woman. Officer Matu. Zero understood how she felt after her husband died, but the woman was really tough. She was at least a level 3 Grandmaster, and ordinary policemen couldn't stop her. Mrs. Wong, do you remember me? Officer Matu. This house belongs to the Wong family's grandaunt. When you search it, you must be very careful, very careful. If you break anything, I'll transfer you to guard the fish pond. Do you hear me? Yes, yes. Seeing the good attitude of his subordinates, Officer Matu. Zero nodded with satisfaction. Then he put on a dog-like smile and said to Secretary Liu, Secretary Liu, what do you think of my arrangement? Ma Haud, you're asking for death. It was Wang Xiaoqing's voice. She had just been attacked by a group of men, and her face was like that of a volcano eruption. She wanted to eat someone. Secretary Liu waved his hand to stop the irritable Madame Wang. He was still calm as he said slowly, Officer Ma, you might not understand what I mean. I'm here this time because I hope you can show mercy. Madame Wang said that if you leave now, she'll owe you a favor. There was a saying in Huiyuan that the Wang family would not fall as long as Iron Rakshasa was alive. Madame Wang was the reason why the Wang family would not fall. Even if it was just a verbal favor, it was still very important. Unfortunately, Officer Matu. Zero was a decent man. He said, seriously, Secretary Liu, please tell Miss Wang that I'll leave as soon as I finish searching the place. I promise I won't break anything, so that I can go back and report to my superiors. I owe her a favor. You don't deserve it. After all, Wang Xiaoqing was an unstable factor. This woman had lost her husband in one day, and her house was being searched. How could this old princess in the circle of wives of the Huiyuan police force swallow this? Zhahu! Wang Xiaoqing yelled angrily. The next moment, a loud roar suddenly erupted, and then something seemed to explode. Everyone looked toward the source of the sound and saw that an inconspicuous doghouse in the courtyard of the mansion had been shattered. At the same time, a terrifying aura was being emitted from a long-haired creature that walked out of the doghouse. The golden long-haired dog's body was expanding crazily at this moment. Its sharp teeth were frightening to look at. In just an instant, the golden-haired dog had expanded, or perhaps it had returned to its original size. It was 3 meters tall and 7 meters long, and its fur had a metallic luster. Is this a level 4 sky-howling wolf? Sir Matu. Zero's face changed, and he yelled, Wang Xiaoqing! How dare you hide such a forbidden beast in your house? Zhahu! Tear them apart. Wang Xiaoqing's eyes were red, and her voice was sharp. When the terrifying howling firmament wolf heard this, it immediately leaped out and pounced into the crowd. With a sweep of its long tail, several police officers were sent flying while vomiting blood. F***CK. Crazy woman. Sirmatu. Zero cursed. Subdue the sky howling wolf first. At the same time, Secretary Lu furrowed his brows and said, Madam Wang, please calm down. I can take care of this. Wang Xiaoqing slapped Secretary Lu's face and said with hatred, You piece of trash! What are you afraid of? It's just a small police officer. Do you think our Wang family is afraid of him? Secretary Lu didn't move or say a word. His face was burning, but he didn't feel anything. He just glanced at her indifferently and stepped back. Even Miss Red Child wasn't so unruly. Miss Red Child was at least reasonable. Even so, Secretary Lu still made a call secretly. Ma Hao didn't prepare to deal with a level 4 beast, especially the sky howling wolf, which was extremely dangerous among the level 4 beasts. They might suffer heavy casualties. He had to deal with the aftermath. Hello, it's me, Secretary Lu. Please send a team over. We have something to deal with here. Yes, right now, within 10 minutes. Secretary Lu said indifferently, and then his expression froze. No, wait. Don't do anything. Wait for my arrangements. As he spoke, Secretary Lu put away the phone and looked at the terrifying stage for beast in disbelief. Among the rank 4 beasts, the sky howling wolf, which had a violent temperament and terrifying combat strength, was currently squatting on the ground in an extremely docile manner, and around it, the group of people from the Fire Cloud General Headquarters were nervously holding onto their weapons as they locked onto the sky howling wolf. However, they did not dare act rashly. Xiaohu, what are you doing? Aren't you going to listen to me? Wang Xiaoqing screamed again. However, the howling sky wolf turned a deaf ear to it. Its ears suddenly drooped, and it directly lowered its head and laid on the ground. The howling sky wolf's body even began to shrink and finally returned to the appearance of a golden retriever. At this moment, a hand was stroking its head. Relax. Little Luo took out a packet of biscuits from his pocket and tore it open, saying with a smile, Do you want some? Ow. It instantly melted. Sirmatu. Zero shivered and said, F** little Luo, you're a beast tamer this time? Mr. Shiman told me how to get along with spirit beasts yesterday. Little Luo smiled casually. Oh, I see. F***CK, Shiman is here and he's going to die. This little Luo is dishonest. Xiaohu! Xiaohu! Wang Xiaoqing was enraged. You trash! I've raised you for nothing. Princess Luo Luo, who was mad with anger, was quite scary. At this time, she directly came to the stage as if she was possessed. She opened her hands, and her fingernails grew. A pair of well-maintained hands turned black and gray at this time, and directly clawed at Officer Luo. F***CK. Poisonous scorpion claw. Little Luo, watch out. This woman's hands are poisonous. Officer Matu. Zero couldn't help but exclaim. F***CK. How did old Wang survive such a vicious hand? Was it made of steel? At this moment, facing Wang Xiaoqing's attack, Officer Luo casually took out something. There was an old photo between his fingertips. Wang Xiaoqing's vicious claws stopped abruptly. She stared at the photo in little Luo's hand, feeling terrible. He doesn't seem to love you anymore. Little Luo said softly. Wang Xiaoqing instantly spat out a mouthful of blood. She collapsed to the ground as if her cultivation had been broken. No. He loves me the most. You lied to me. You lied to me. You lied to me. This photo should be the most precious thing to him. Little Luo said softly, More precious than you. Wang Xiaoqing fell on the ground, holding her head with both hands, wailing, screaming, and crying. You lied to me. You lied to me. In the distance, Secretary Liu, who saw this scene, couldn't help but be shocked. He quietly looked at the young police officer and couldn't help but think of an old saying, "Kill people, kill their hearts." Chapter 2409. She attacked the officers of HQ and illegally raised dangerous beasts, which led to many officers being injured. When the specially made restraining handcuffs were put on Wang Xiaoqing's hands, the widow's face was no longer exquisite. It was as if she had lost her soul, leaving only her skin. Under the escort of the police officers, she was locked into the transport vehicle. Regarding this result, Secretary Liu did nothing. He just silently allowed Officer Ma to take them away. After all, Huiyun General Headquarters was independent from the government. Usually, the Fire Cloud HQ would show some respect. But Wang Xiaoqing's behavior was so bad that it was beyond Secretary Liu's ability. "Sorry to disturb you, Officer Ma." Secretary Liu walked to Sirma 2-0 and said, "I don't have any request. I just hope that Mrs. Wang can be treated better. After all, she had her reasons." "Don't worry. I'm not so bad as to bully a widow." Sirma 2-0 shook his head. "The HQ is only responsible for arresting people. It's up to the court to decide the sentence." "Secretary Liu, you're more familiar with these procedures than I am." Secretary Liu didn't say anything. He just smiled and nodded. Before he left, he took a deep look at little Luo and then got into a black commercial flying car. "Uncle Ma, who is this Secretary Liu?" "Lu Jinghe." Officer Ma 2-0 heaved a sigh of relief. The second secretary of the mayor's office, one of the most powerful officials in Huiyun. Compared to Lu Jinghe, the Lu is younger. The secretary of the mayor's office? Little Luo pondered. Officer Ma 2-0 rubbed his eyebrows and said, "I didn't expect that Madame Wang would ask Lu Jinghe to come here. Even Lu Jinghe has to respect her. This old woman is getting more and more powerful." Little Luo asked, "What's the relationship between Madame Wang and Mayor Tai?" Sirma 2-0 said quietly, "Mayor Tai used to be the princess of the Ghost Kingdom. She was taken in by the Wang family when she escaped from the Ghost Kingdom's coup. I heard that back then. In order to protect Tai Luocha, the Wang family's eldest aunt didn't hesitate to use her own daughter as a substitute. So tell me, what kind of relationship does she have with Mayor Tai? It wouldn't be too much to call her mother, right?" "I see." Little Luo nodded and asked curiously, "Uncle Ma, you offended old Madame Wang this time. Aren't you afraid that she will hate you?" Sirma 2-0 said, "Why should I be afraid of her? She won't pay me. My rank is Fire Cloud General Headquarters, Large Captain. Even in Southern Heavenly Gate, I have a record. If they have the ability to get rid of me, we'll see. Besides, your teacher isn't someone to be trifled with in Southern Heavenly Gate. Now that we have someone to fight in Southern Heavenly Gate, we have someone to back us up. Do you understand?" With that, Sirma 2-0 shook his head and sighed. "Actually, the Wang family has been spoiled these years, but they're not that arrogant. They don't do anything out of line. They're one of the more low-key ones among the big families. It's a pity that they ran into this problem." Little Luo glanced at the sky-howling wolf and asked, "What will you do with this spirit beast?" "Oh." Sirma 2-0 thought for a while and said, "This is a dangerous level 4 spirit beast. Of course, it can't be kept in the city. Usually, the people in the spirit beast class will deal with it. They will either destroy it humanely and turn its body into materials or send it back to the spirit beast world. Usually, the former is more common." Little Luo thought for a while and said, "Uncle Ma, can I ask you for a favor?" "Hey, what is it? Tell me." Sirma 2-0 patted his chest and said, "As long as I can do it, I'll marry my daughter to you. As long as you don't rush, wait for 18 years. I'll give you a daughter." Little Luo smiled casually and pointed at the sky-howling wolf, asking, "Can you let me deal with it?" "Are you serious?" Lu Jinghe quickly returned to his exclusive office. He had to deal with a lot of official business in a day, and he had taken time out for this trip. The time that was taken up could only be made up for by working overtime. But soon, someone knocked on the door of Lu Jinghe's office. A white-haired but well-dressed lady slowly walked in with the help of a young girl. Lu Jinghe stood up and greeted her politely. "Aunt Wang, why are you here?" "You know why." The lady sat down on the sofa in the reception area with the help of the young girl. She put her crutch on the ground and looked expressionless. Lu Jinghe said, "I've asked the legal aid department to send the best lawyer for Mrs. Wang. There won't be any problem. I've also arranged for the detention center. Mrs. Wang won't have any trouble in there." Xiao Qing is in a bad mood after losing her husband. Why didn't you stop her? Why did you let her get into trouble? Aunt Wang asked indifferently. Lu Jinghe said indifferently, "I think it's good to let Mrs. Wang calm down for a few days." Lu Jinghe, what do you mean? Auntie Wang's gaze was not one of condescension, but at the very least, it was one of absolute superiority. Lu Jinghe said calmly, "I didn't know beforehand that Madame Wang's family was raising a dangerous fourth-grade spirit beast. Auntie Wang, don't you think that Madame Wang's actions this time will stain the Wang family's reputation? If Mrs. Wang doesn't stay in there for a few days, I'm afraid there will be all kinds of rumors about the Wang family being spoiled." Lu Jinghe, Aunt Wang sneered. "You're good at changing the topic. I'm asking why you didn't stop her. I don't believe you don't have the ability. Is it because Xiao Qing slapped you on the spot? It happened so suddenly. I really didn't have the ability to stop her. Please forgive me." Tai Luosha said indifferently, "If you want me to give you the right to use the bloodline jade, there's only this condition. Other than that, there's nothing to discuss. If you don't agree, you can leave. There's no need for dinner." "Mom, I beg you." Red Child clenched her teeth and knelt on the ground. Tai Luosha's lips moved slightly, but in the end, she looked down at the documents on the table with a deadpan expression. She said indifferently, "I've already given you the condition. If there's nothing else, you can leave." Red Child pursed her lips slightly. "At the end of the day, it's because you don't like me. I know. I will only make you feel uncomfortable in front of you. Just treat it as though I was never here tonight." She turned around and left without even turning her head. Opening the door was the only thing she would not kick. "Wait." Tai Luosha's voice suddenly sounded. Red Child's heart palpitated slightly. However, she heard Tai Luosha continue, "Remember to close the door." All right. The sound of the door closing was not loud. Only then did Tai Luosha look up and hold her forehead helplessly. Another argument. It said that mother and daughter are enemies in their previous lives. This saying seems to be true when it comes to you. At this moment, Auntie Wang walked into the study helplessly. Miss Red Child just left in a huff. "We don't need to prepare tonight's dishes. Eat what should be eaten. Don't waste it." Tai Luosha heaved a sigh. "Let the servants share it." Auntie Wang sighed. "Is it necessary? After all, we are related by blood and flesh. Don't regret it when you lose it again." Tai Luosha said faintly, "Annie, I know what I should do." Auntie Wang nodded slightly. "I'll go get you a bowl of lotus seed porridge." Tai Luosha pondered for a while and then said, "Auntie, help me prepare a car. I need to go out." Now, Auntie Wang was puzzled. "Where are you going?" Tai Luosha said, "The Civil Administration Building." "Welcome back." "In the shop, Sir Little Luo." Boss Luo saw Miss Maid waiting for him at the entrance. She changed her shoes, took off her clothes, took off the things Boss Luo bought on the way. Miss Maid's happiness started from this moment. It's here." Boss Luo smiled. "I think it's not a bad idea to get a guard at the door. I'm coming. By the way, do you know the art of spirit communication? Spirit communication? Miss Maid blinked. She understood what her master wanted to do. World of spirit beasts. At this moment, the golden tiger that hadn't transformed was looking at this place timidly. Mom, I want to go home. Shimin-Ka pondered and said, Arnold said it wasn't the smell of the mysterious person. The police announced Gu Yao's death not long ago. I guess Li Jianren saw the news, so he wanted to come to the hospital to have a look. Of course, I don't know the specific motive, but this person has a name, so it's not difficult to find him. Let's put it aside for now, but maybe we can find the other person. Who? Wang Wu. Shimin-Ka said seriously, the man in the recording secretly recorded by Gu Yao. He's a guy of the Wang family who specializes in dealing with social problems. The young lady of the Wang family also died tragically before Miss Yao. Di Qinglong shook his head. How could the murderer be a member of the Wang family? Shimin-Ka scratched his head and said, So are you going or not? I'll send Gu Zhe back first. Di Qinglong said indifferently. He actually woke up. On the bus, teacher Xiaohu curled up in the corner at the back, his face full of worry. Why did it have to be this time? Li Jianren, I'm also your student. Come back. Teacher Xiaohu slowly closed his eyes and covered his ears with his hands. He curled up even smaller, as if he wanted to squeeze himself into a ball like this. It was getting dark. Special news report. Today, the Fire Cloud General Administration dispatched a large number of people to arrest in the building of the Fire Cloud East Branch. What was the news? What was it? I'm back. Dad, hug. Yuck, hug. Sir Matu. Zero picked up the child, his face full of happiness. At the same time, a plump lady said with a smile at the door, Good boy, don't make trouble. Let Dad come in first, and you can play with your brother in the room. Okay. Looking at his little son's healthy and lively appearance, Officer Matu, Zero felt relieved. Why are you back so early today? Mrs. Ma asked curiously. Sir Matu. Zero lay on the sofa. Mrs. Ma opened a bottle of beer and brought it over, massaging his shoulders. You haven't been back these days. Sir Matu. Zero heaved a sigh. I just came back from the Eastern District, so I didn't want to go back to the General Administration. Mrs. Ma wanted to say something, but stopped. I heard that a lot of things happened in the Eastern District branch. Did you see it on the Twitter? Sir Matu. Zero asked casually. It exploded long ago. Mrs. Ma said with a bitter smile. The moment Wang Xiaoqing died, the news flooded the screen. Someone in a nearby house took a picture. I didn't expect her to be so crazy, but it's no wonder. After all, her husband is dead. Officer Matu. Zero blinked and turned around. He hugged the soft hostess and said, Honey, do you know that old Wang and Wang Xiaoqing aren't that loving? When I went to look for their marriage certificate, I found that they had already slept in separate rooms. When the forensic doctor examined Wang's body, he found a lot of scars. I think Wang Xiaoqing might have abused him. I knew it. Because she found a golden retriever in front of the clinic. It was led by a dog leash, and there was an empty plate on the ground. The golden retriever was squatting, looking up with sad and scared eyes. It looked pitiful. Lady Nan too opened her mouth, and then looked at the sign with confusion. Yes, it was the sign. She was in the right place. The golden retriever was obviously not an ordinary golden retriever. At least Miss Nan could judge from its aura that the golden retriever had some strength. They looked at each other. Oh, Lady Nan, you're back. At this moment, Miss Maid pushed the door open with a plate. She saw a piece of delicious steak on the plate. Miss Yu Yi, this is Jahu. Miss Maid smiled and said, Master adopted him temporarily to do some research. Research? Miss Nan too couldn't help but blink her eyes. When she saw the word research, the body of the golden retriever on the ground trembled. She shook her head and didn't care too much about the Yahoo, but asked directly, "Miss Yi is number 1 here? I came back to change shifts, and now it's her turn to work in the headquarters. You can do the handover yourself," Miss Maid said casually. Lady Nan too was stunned again. At this moment, someone stood outside the clinic and looked at them hesitantly. Lady Nan too looked back in surprise. In the night, she saw a man standing in front of the door with a strange expression. Teacher Xiaohu, why are you here?" Lady Nan too was surprised. "I came here unknowingly," he answered subconsciously. "No. Teacher Xiaonan, why are you here?" Chapter 24:11 Renter. Teacher Xiao, who was surprised to hear such an answer. But at this time, Teacher Xiaonan's eyes were full of sincerity, so he could only believe it. Who told Huiyun City's housing price to be so high? I can only seek this kind of rental. Fortunately, Dr. Luo is a good person and is willing to rent out the utility room in the attic to me. Teacher Xiaonan, this is too, looked pitiful at this time. Otherwise, a newcomer like me, if I want to survive in Huiyun City, I'm afraid I can only engage in some underground paid services after work. Only then can I. Teacher Xiao, who opened his mouth. Since Teacher Xiaonan had said so much, if he didn't have some strange images in his mind, he would really be sorry for his male instincts. Something like that? He couldn't help but quickly shake his head, throwing out the peachy images in his mind. Then he looked around to get rid of the awkward atmosphere. This place, it seemed like he had been here before, but it also seemed like he hadn't been here before. It seemed like he had taken something from here. It seemed like he hadn't. He couldn't remember clearly, even how he walked to the clinic's door. He just wanted to go home as soon as possible. Today, he didn't want to care about anything. He just wanted to close his eyes and wait for the day to pass. "Teacher Li, please have some tea." "Oh, okay, thank you." Teacher Xiao, who quickly stood up. The nurse in the school doctor's office was too beautiful. So beautiful that it was unreal. He couldn't help but envy Dr. Luo. The threshold of a doctor's profession was very high, unlike a sparring teacher who usually only needed to take a beating. Moreover, such a young doctor, who even had his own private clinic. There was also a beautiful nurse. If you count Teacher Xiaonan as a renter. Hey, what kind of cool novel's male lead template is this? I'm so **king envious. Dr. Luo is in the study. He'll come out soon. The maid said with a smile. Sorry to disturb you so late. Teacher Xiao, who said apologetically, Sure enough, I'll go first. After all, I didn't bring anything for a visit. At this time, Dr. Luo came down from upstairs, wearing a pair of simple trousers and a white shirt. The collar was casually opened, and the sleeves were rolled up a little. It was really casual, but Xiao Nan, Lady Nan too, was a little stunned at this moment. She couldn't help but shiver secretly and quickly looked away. She was afraid of being discovered by Miss Maid. She quietly picked up the teacup and sipped it. She had to be elegant. Oh no, my defense was actually broken by the boss in a white shirt. What the hell is this? Is my XP that strange? Yu Yi, when I came back in the afternoon, I brought some honeydew melons. Dr. Luo said casually, Take them out and open them. Melons should be eaten together to make them sweet. Yes, the servant girl answered simply. Dr. Luo sat down casually and said to Teacher Xiaohu, I'm sorry, I was a little engrossed in reading in my room. It's fine. Teacher Xiao, who couldn't help but feel nervous. Damn it, he's young, rich, and surrounded by beautiful women. More importantly, he's more outstanding than you, and he's also more hard-working than you. Dr. Luo smiled casually and said, Teacher Li, how have you been these 2 days? Teacher Xiaohu couldn't help but reveal a look of astonishment and confusion. Dr. Luo smiled faintly and said, What I mean is, did you have a good weekend? Teacher Xiaohu opened his mouth, but could only cover it with a bitter smile. It passed in a daze. I don't even know what I did. His plan to work on the weekend didn't complete. The model audition was most likely a failure. He felt that he was also very busy this weekend, rushing here and there. Time flew by like a white horse. It was ridiculous that he didn't accomplish anything. I think teacherly you should be sober, Dr. Luo said softly. Lady Nan too couldn't help but look up in astonishment. Teacher Xiao, who opened his mouth, slightly in confusion. Dr. Luo said, if you're not sober, how do you know that you've been in a daze for a day? Is that so? Teacher Xiao, who lowered his eyebrows thoughtfully. Living every day in a daze while sober. Living every day in a daze while sober. He couldn't help but reveal a relieved smile, scratching his head and saying, it's strange. I feel like this isn't the first time I've come here. I feel comfortable here. It's probably the aroma. Dr. Luo said casually, a good smell can relax the body and mind. It's also a kind of treatment. Is it really my first time here? Teacher Xiao, who asked abruptly. Dr. Luo said calmly, it's your first time here. Teacher Xiao, who felt something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. The doubt just flashed by, and the beautiful nurse came back with a sliced honeydew melon. It wasn't just a normal cut, but a plate was placed on it. It was a work of art. He was too embarrassed to eat it. However, Miss Nan too stretched out her hand and took a piece without saying a word. She didn't look polite at all. Eat. Why are you looking at me? This thing is supposed to be eaten, not looked at. The most important thing is the taste. God knows how much courage Lady Nan too had used up. Anyway, his back was cold. Teacher Xiao, who was startled. The maid put a piece of honeydew melon on a small plate and put it in front of him with a small fork. He took it subconsciously. Thank you, he said with a slightly hoarse voice. Teacher Xiao, who held the small plate with both hands, lowered his head and seemed to be silent. Xiao Huyu. Lady Nan too tilted her head and asked tentatively. I once had a hapless devil who haunted me for 3 whole weeks. Do you know the fear of being shot in 3 seconds? Pooh! I lost control of my true force when I was using Black Tortoise. Obviously, Sirma too. Zero was afraid of ropes after being bitten by a snake. No wonder he was wearing such a disguise. Little Luo couldn't help laughing when he saw Sirma too. Zero walking nervously with a mahogany sword in his hand. Uncle Ma, I have something to keep you safe too, Little Luo suddenly said. Sirma too. Zero blinked and Little Luo took out a yellow safety charm folded into a triangle from his clothes. Take it. He stuffed the talisman into Officer Matu. Zero's hand. What about you? Little Luo smiled. Teacher said that surpassers don't need to be afraid of these things. Sirma too. Zero snorted. So what if you're a surpasser? Little Luo said casually, have we arrived at Goose Susu's grave? Officer Matu. Zero hurriedly pointed to the front. It should be one of the tombs in the front. I asked the caretaker for serial number. Goose Susu's grave. Her date of birth and date of death. She had been buried for a few years, so the tombstone was still clear. Sirma too. Zero took out his cell phone and found a photo of Old Wang's family. The woman in the photo was the same as Goose Susu's. Someone came here recently. Officer Luo looked at the front of the tombstone. This one is obviously cleaner than the other tombstones. Surmatu. Zero thought for a while and said, Goose Susu didn't have any friends when she was alive. Maybe it was Guyao who came here? I'll check the records of the cemetery. Officer Xiao Luo nodded and closed his eyes in front of Gu Susu's grave, mourning silently for a moment. Seeing this, Officer Matu Zero put his peach wood sword under his armpit and said a few words in a low voice. Sorry for disturbing you. After a while, little Luo came to the back of the tombstone and squatted down, grabbing a handful of soil. The soil is loose. It seems to have been dug up not long ago. Let me do it. Officer Matu Zero nodded and pressed his hands on the ground behind the tombstone. I'm good at sensing. There's something underneath. It's square. It should be a coffin, seeing that Surmatu Zero didn't intend to dig it up. Little Luo didn't care. At this moment, Surmatu Zero suddenly opened his eyes. The coffin is empty. Goose Susu's body is gone. End of chapter. Chapter 24:14. In the end, the graveyard was dug up, and an empty coffin was found. Goose Susu's body was missing. Officer Matu Zero guessed that her body was used for sacrificial refining in order to seize control of Old Wang's heart-biting voodoo. The two of them quickly buried Goose Susu's grave and left. Officer Matu Zero looked more serious. Shaluo, you know what? I'm not surprised if Old Wang wants to use his power to get some benefits for himself. Compared with power, it's useless if you don't use it. Little Luo said, Uncle Ma, are you saying that there's something suspicious about the branch director being the leader of the underground forces in the Eastern District? Surmatu Zero shook his head. I don't believe that Old Wang is the leader of the underground forces. Look, Old Wang is the son-in-law of the Wang family, and he has the support of the Wang family. If the Wang family and Iron Rakshasa are willing to support him, Old Wang will be the leader of the Fire Cloud police force sooner or later. Isn't that better than the money he made by committing crimes? You suspect that the branch director was blackmailed, right? Let's assume. Surmatu Zero said seriously, let's assume that someone knows Goose Susu's background, and that person knows that Old Wang was implanted with the heart-biting Goose Susu, and that person happens to have the ability to control the goo. What kind of person do you think that person is? Maybe he's from the ancient country of Styx. Little Luo guessed according to Surmatu Zero's speculation. If Old Wang was really under someone's control and had no choice but to become the leader of this underground force in the Eastern District, then many things can be explained. His suicide, his motive for giving up his future, etc. Not good. Surmatu Zero took a deep breath and said, This underground force hasn't collapsed yet. We've alerted them this time. Surmatu Zero patted his head heavily. The HQ cleaned up the corrupt people in the branch, but at the same time, the underground force went into a darker corner. Old Wang killed himself to save the king, so it's more difficult to find the culprit. Officer Xiao Luo thought for a while. Did the people on the list who were taken away from the district confess anything? Officer Matu Zero shook his head and said, They're all saying that Old Wang ordered them to do it. Old Wang has no evidence to prove that he's dead. The materials provided by De Lu also pointed to Old Wang. It's solid evidence. Old Wang's death is suspicious, and it's hard for him to turn the situation around. Little Luo said, There's one more person. Surmatu Zero paused. Luo's right. How could I forget about him? The guy who sneak attacked me. He didn't get caught this time. I'm going to prepare for it. You go back first and recharge your energy. You're the main force to deal with that guy's forbidden device tomorrow night. They parted outside the cemetery. Surmatu Chapter 24:15. Soon after leaving the cemetery, Sir Ma-tu, Zero regretted. He left in a hurry and forgot to take little Luo with him. After all, the cemetery on the outskirts of South District was such a remote place. She didn't know if she could call for a taxi that was willing to go there. The main reason was that he was usually like this. When he was anxious, he would directly stop interacting with her, put on his pants in front of Mrs. Ma, and leave. "Hey, Dumbo, it's me. It's time to get off work. Don't talk to me about business, and don't drink with me. Your wife has already given me a death order. I'm not allowed to look for you to drink. Otherwise, she'll beat me every time she sees me. You know, I don't beat women. I can only be beaten. I don't want to be beaten. Business." Sir Ma-tu, Zero's mustache twitched. "It's really urgent." On the other end of the call, Dumbo said nothing and was about to hang up. He hadn't finished marking his kids' homework. Bang! Suddenly, a loud noise came from the other end of the phone. Lung Feng, who was about to put down the phone, was startled. "Old Ma? Old Ma? What happened? Old Ma, say something." "No, nothing." "No, something happened. There was a collision." "Sir Ma-tu," Zero said in a frightened voice. "A large truck rushed towards us." "Collided? Is it serious? Tell me the location." "No, I'm fine, so is the car." "Sir Ma-tu," Zero blinked and said, "I stepped on the brake when the light was about to turn yellow. I just dodged it." When Lung Feng, who was at home, heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief. That's rare. Usually he would fight for a yellow light, but this time he actually didn't rush for it. "I don't know what happened." "Sir Ma-tu," Zero scratched his head. "Little Luo told me not to chase the tail of the green light, so I stopped. Who's little Luo?" I'll talk to you later." "Sir Ma-tu," Zero said, "I have to check on the driver. I don't know if he's dead. Talk to you later." Old Ma. Toot, toot. The front of the truck had completely collapsed. When Sir Ma-tu, Zero walked closer to take a look, he saw a lot of blood flowing out of the cracks on the heavily compressed door. A man whose body was already badly mutilated had his head smashed through the windshield, and his neck was stuck in the glass. Sir Ma-tu, Zero reached out his hand, and he was no longer breathing. He blankly looked at the scene of the car accident. Only then did he have a trace of lingering fear. In just 1 or 2 seconds, it could be said that he had taken a stroll through the gates of hell. After all, if he didn't strengthen himself in time, his body would only be strong at most. He would need to be at least a level 5 surpasser to complete the first life transition of the Azure Blue cultivation civilization. He could probably block bullets with his body. "Hello, this is Huiyun City's Traffic Command Center. How can I help you? There's a serious car accident here. The location is..." They didn't know how long they had been waiting. This wasn't a main road, and there weren't many cars. The truck driver was already dead, and Sir Ma-tu, Zero, didn't want to take him out of the truck. He still felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. What was inconceivable was that this matter was as coincidental as an old cow swatting a mosquito with its tail. If little Luo didn't remind him, could it be that he had accidentally bumped into another unlucky ghost in the mausoleum? Old Ma of Azure Blue suddenly picked up the phone. It was a long-distance, very expensive one, and he would feel heartache every time he called. "Hello, I'm Yi Yan. I'm currently in the middle of an important mission, so I can't call you back for the time being. If you have anything to say, please leave a message. Old Ma, please press 1. Cold Peak, please press 2. Sir Ma-tu, Zero pressed 1 and said to the phone, "Little Yi, call me back when you have time. I have something to ask you. I saw your disciple, little Luo. My goodness, when did you take her in? How come I didn't know about it?" The sirens of the ambulance were heard from afar. Officer Ma-tu, Zero stood up from the curb and raised his hand. "This way, this way." In the underground cave of the Housing Administration building, the blood relation Jade had been rubbed many times, and Mahaud's stars didn't change. Tai Luosha heaved a sigh of relief after making sure everything was back to normal. She didn't know why Ma Hao's luck suddenly increased. Perhaps Ma Hao had accidentally encountered a treasure with great fortune, or someone who was extremely compatible with him. They complemented each other, and so on. Apart from observing everyone's fortune, she came here tonight mainly for another matter. Tai Luocha's gaze quietly swept across a dark corner of the grotto, and then she took out the blood relation jade again. Search for Gao Yang. The moment the voice sounded, the star fog map began to surge. Not long after, dozens of light spots of varying brightness appeared in the fog map. Gao Yang, his mother, is Gao Tsuelan, Tai Luosha said again, but this time the dozens of light spots were all extinguished. Within the star fog diagram, no more starlight named after Gao Yang lit up. Tai Luosha frowned. No star meant that this person's luck was gone. There was only one situation where a person's luck would be extinguished. Dead. Tai Luosha pondered for a moment and activated the jade again. This time she said loudly, Gao Tsuelan from Tsuehua Town, show her child. The star fog diagram began to change, and a star slowly floated out. Tai Luosha directly summoned the star. Just as she was about to use a secret technique to materialize the star's information, a strange fog suddenly emerged from the star, completely enveloping it. Tai Luosha's expression changed. Chapter 2418. It should be the sound of someone trying to open the door. Miss Maid tilted her head and looked at the simple wooden door expressionlessly. She looked through the door and saw an unfriendly man wearing flip-flops and carrying a bunch of keys. The landlord of Huiyun City appeared. Bang, bang, bang. Mr. Li, I know you're inside. I heard the TV. Come out. It's been 2 weeks. When will the rent be paid? The landlord knocked on the door vigorously. Don't think that I can't get in because you installed a new lock. If you don't open the door, I'll kick the door today. Seeing that the landlord was about to break in, Miss Maid slowly raised her palm and gently blew on it. A gray but flickering mist was blown out, directly penetrating the door, and then scattered on the landlord's face. He slowly put down his leg that he was about to raise. Then the landlord slowly turned around and went downstairs with an expressionless face. The cheap rental house was quiet again, except for the sound of the children's program that was still ringing. Miss Maid looked around casually and then walked to one of the rooms inside. The door of the room was opened automatically. She probably didn't want to touch anything here, even her shoes and the floor. When she walked, there were ripples of light and shadow. This should be Xiao Hu's room, Li Jianren's room. It was a very ordinary room of an adult male, but the windows were closed, and there was a smell of decay. The master asked her to investigate something, so she would naturally complete it seriously, even if she really wanted to burn this place down and tidy it up a little. The room was very small, as seen by the naked eye. There was a simple bed and a bedside cabinet with a rope that barely served as a wardrobe. In addition, there was no chair, nothing special. The only thing worth paying attention to was the thick stack of books on the bedside cabinet. A power like psyche power acted on these books, and the thick stack of books instantly flew out automatically and then lay flat on the sunken mattress. They were all opened. Miss Maid was reading these books with her powerful, dynamic vision. Surprisingly, these books were all teaching materials. Educational psychology, how to become good friends with students, how to become an outstanding sparring partner, carrying the gold medal of the ladder, gameplay in the extraterritorial battlefield, and so on. He seemed to have spent a lot of energy on his work. These were all materials filled with reading notes. Only this bit of seriousness made Miss Maid smell a bit of scholarly fragrance. But that was only in the past. This stack of books had long been covered with a thick layer of dust. After a while, Miss Maid picked up a rather old teaching material. After restoring the rest, she left the room. She took this teaching material because she thought her master would be interested in it. Lady Nan 1 followed King Go's instinct and directly turned into mist to hide without saying anything. A man with an anxious expression appeared in front of room 31 in a hurry. After the man saw that there was no one in the ward, he hurriedly left. On the way, he caught a nurse passing by and anxiously questioned her. The patient in this room should have been sent to the emergency room. Why don't you go take a look? Okay, thank you. The man hurried away. At this time, Lady Nan 1 slowly showed up. Why is he here? She looked at the man's back in surprise. She remembered that she had seen the name Shan Ziru somewhere. Shan Ziru was Lu Jiaming's fiancé. She was involved in an operation and was seriously injured, so she had been hospitalized. This man, who came in a hurry, was Officer Lu from the Eastern District. In front of the emergency room, Officer Lu Jiaming covered his face with his hands and waited calmly. He could do nothing but wait. At this moment, something gently touched Officer Lu's shoulder. He raised his head in astonishment, only to see a can of coffee appear on his shoulder. And the person who brought the coffee was a somewhat greasy guy wearing glasses. His hair was covered in hair gel as if it could make it shine. He had one hand in his pocket and was squatting slightly with his legs spread open. It was a very strange posture. Who are you? Officer Lu frowned. It's really you, Officer Lu. Miss Nan 1 nodded and said, I'm the forensic officer of the Fire Cloud General Headquarters, Old Fong. We've met before. Do you remember? General Headquarters. Officer Lu opened his mouth. He had heard that there was such a medical examiner in General Headquarters, but he didn't remember when he met her. However, he was not in the mood to care about such a trivial matter. Why are you here? He was hesitant, and there was even a trace of caution and vigilance in his hesitation. Lady Nan 1 sat down casually. As medical examiners, we often deal with hospitals. I'm here to check some information. I have a senior who is a doctor here, so I come here to ask him for advice. Officer Lu nodded, showing a non-committal look. Miss Nan 1 looked at the door of the emergency room, asking, Officer Lu, what happened? Did any of your friends go in? My wife is inside. Lu Jiaming took a deep breath and took the coffee. Thank you. Who's your wife? Lady Nan 1 asked tentatively. Cyanosis, congenital heart disease. Officer Lu stared at the red light in the emergency room, saying slowly, Xiaoru has been in poor health these years. She finally got a suitable heart. She was normal after the operation, but today she'll get better. Miss Nan 1 comforted him. Think about it, you can wait for a suitable heart, so you won't be defeated by such a small matter. Lu Jiaming nodded. Lady Nan 1 sat with him for a while and patted his shoulder. Officer Lu, take care of yourself. After all, a lot of things have happened recently. The incident in the Eastern Branch is a hot topic. Now, You're the only one who can preside over the situation in the Eastern Branch. I don't want to think about it now. Officer Liu shook his head. I see. Lady Nan One nodded and said no more. Well, I have something else to do, so I have to go. You can tell me if you need my help. I'm familiar with this hospital and have many cardiology friends. Okay. Thank you. Officer Liu glanced at her gratefully. He hesitated for a moment and said in a low voice, Dr. Fong, I hope you won't tell anyone about what happened tonight. I don't want to let others think that it will affect my daily work. Because of power? Lady Nan One nodded thoughtfully. When she was about to leave, the light in the emergency room suddenly dimmed. Officer Liu Jiaming stepped out and walked to the door. He grabbed the doctor and asked in a low voice, Doctor, how's my wife? The doctor was in pain, but he didn't dare to get angry because he knew who Officer Liu was. He said quickly, the patient's condition is stable for now, but it's not optimistic. We'll transfer her to the ICU for observation. Why is that? Officer Liu frowned. Wasn't the operation very successful? Why did the rejection happen only now? The doctor said, I'm afraid your wife didn't take the medicine we prescribed to prevent rejection. Our nurses should have made mistakes to some extent. But I hope you can take good care of the patient's mood. She didn't take the medicine. How did you take care of the patient? We'll know the specific reason when she wakes up. Well, please calm down. The doctor pushed Officer Liu's hand. Officer Liu's arm seemed to be broken. He frowned because of the pain. I'm asking, how did you take care of the patient? Officer Liu Jiaming's eyes were fierce, without a trace of his usual elegant demeanor. Roar! The doctor's face turned pale and he trembled all over. Officer Liu. Lady Nan One reached out and patted Officer Liu's shoulder. Officer Liu's body slightly trembled. He took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Then he let go of the doctor's hand. I hope you won't make any mistakes before I get agitated again. I'm sorry. The doctor didn't dare to stay any longer. After a while, Shanzir was pushed out with a breathing mask. Liu Jiaming ignored old Fong beside him and followed the bed all the way to the ICU. He couldn't continue to follow. Lady Nan One thought for a moment. If she followed him again, she would be too enthusiastic and would easily arouse his vigilance. Liu Jiaming's emotional management was very good. This guy was very shrewd. What are you doing here? The moment she heard the voice, Miss Nan One knew who had appeared behind her Red Boy. She looked back and saw Red Boy's face was full of the word impatience at this time. I suddenly appeared and disappeared. What do you think I am?